alleviates maybe that anxiety and that stress, because this is someone that you've built rapport for. And if they really didn't care about your success on your part, they probably wouldn't be giving you that feedback. So it gives that person that understanding of making sure that they can give that feedback, they can provide that feedback, and that way they can take it and be receptive to that feedback and make corrections as necessary. So as you're listing all the context of some of the opportunities that are going on, come up with other solutions, find out what's going on, look at the key knowledge that's happening, and look at the situation as a whole and understand what's going on. And sometimes when something is maybe going wrong, or there may be something happening where someone's not pulling their weight, ask questions, understand what's going on. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. And then one of the next topics that they talk about is welcoming knowledge sharing during the process. As you're giving constructive feedback, make sure that you're not the only person providing the feedback, but you're also getting an understanding and clarifying and getting a great understanding of the person that is receiving the feedback. Make sure that once you state what you have to state, you want, of course, give them the opportunity to speak, giving them the opportunity for, depending on how many issues there are or how many different items that you've listed on your context, make sure to give the person receiving the feedback the complete opportunity to address each one. Make sure that you give that they are able to understand, that they are clear on those things. Give them the opportunity to speak. Because sometimes, depending on how heated the situation can be within collaboration, within collaboration groups, sometimes it can get a little heated. We've all been guilty of it. I raise my right hand. I've been guilty of it as well. But being in those situations, it can get heated because everybody wants to talk, or they want to add their 2 cents, or they want to say things that may not necessarily be the right time. Maybe useful information, but not necessarily be the right time for that actual conversation. So make sure that once you give your feedback, you're also welcoming them to give their insight. Maybe they did it differently in a way that you had no clue about for a specific reason. Maybe there was a different perception that they had that actually made it better. Maybe you were expecting A, B, C to be done, but instead of A, B, and C being done in that order, they started on C, B, A. And you're taking it as a perception of things being done backwards or not being done correctly. But because they are an expert and they may have experience, thus collaboration, they have experience in that certain task, they may have found that doing it that way was more efficient and definitely had the ability to get things done. So when you welcome that knowledge and when you welcome that type of feedback, that receptive feedback that they get, that they're giving you, it may also give you a different perspective to think, well, hey, I didn't think about it that way. That makes sense. Let's see how this goes. And then you can make a determining factor on how to resolve the situation from there. Because sometimes as human beings and as people, sometimes we like to talk. Sometimes we like to make sure that our ideas are getting out there, and we want everybody to understand our why without welcoming another perspective. And of course, depending on the dynamic of that collaboration, you definitely want to make sure how much welcoming of that you need. It may be what's necessary to help you get a different perspective, but also to help you move forward successfully in that business and with that project. So make sure that when you're giving constructive feedback and that you're having that conversation, make sure you're listening, be receptive, get feedback as well, because they can also give you feedback, and that may be an open door for them to give feedback that they probably were maybe scared or a little bit had anxiety of giving you, and you both can alleviate any type of misunderstandings. So the next one that they talk about, that's talked about here as well, is developing a common language. Now, developing a common language, that's typically, you can use that in a way where it's just understanding specific jargon, understanding the message that you're doing. That's really simply understanding, and that goes back to setting the tone. That goes back to the beginning of any type of collaboration, setting the tone, understanding the dynamics, everybody understanding their role and taking the necessary ownership. It's from that portion that you can definitely make sure that you have a common language of understanding what's going on. Maybe there are certain specific jargons or specific things within each respective ownership of that collaboration project that others may not understand. One way that you can do that is of course, with meetings. You can have weekly meetings, conference calls, video conferences, whatever you need to do within that collaboration to make sure that you all understand that defined common language. And if it's something that the whole team doesn't know but could definitely benefit from, set up a conference call, set up some time to be able to go over that. When you all are checking in and tuning in, and you guys are checking in with each other to see what the status of the progression is, that's a great opportunity to be able to share something new, to also continue to build that trust and to continue to build that momentum and the culture within that actual collaboration. And that's always awesome. And so, of course, thank you guys for tuning in. Once again, I just want to thank you guys, of course, for tuning in. This is some great information here. Just make sure that you guys are visiting our website, of course, www.thecoworkingculture.com, to learn more information. You can follow the co-working culture as well on social media, on Facebook, the co-working culture, Twitter, and Instagram at co-working culture. That's COWORKN culture. And of course, you can tune in to us on all of the major podcasting platforms, including Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcast, and more. So make sure that you all, whatever you enjoy, whatever you have downloaded on your phone, make sure to download and subscribe on those major platforms, and subscribe to us as well. You can also download our app on Google Play by downloading Google Play, going into the Google Play Store, typing in the co-working culture, download the actual app. And so that way it is on your phone, so you will never miss a show. And anytime a new show is downloaded, you will get a notification letting you know that a new episode has been downloaded. So far we've been talking about 5 essential ways to share feedback on collaborative projects. So whether that's internally within your business or whether that's externally that you're dealing with other contractors and other business owners, these are some very efficient ways for you to be able to effectively collaborate and give feedback when things are going amazing and great, and also feedback when things are not so great or if things need to be adjusted. So we've already went through 4, and I'm going to go over the last one. So number 1 was building context, focusing more on the opportunities rather than the problems, welcoming the knowledge that's shared during the actual feedback conversation, not just you providing the feedback, but also getting their insight and see how they are receiving the feedback, and then developing a common language and pretty much a common knowledge that everyone understands during this actual feedback process. The last one here that it says states on the article, and of course the article, just to let you guys know, again, is randstad.com. They have some really great tools and tips on talking about collaboration efforts. The last one is ask questions, and this is something that everybody should live by. You should be asking constantly asking questions. Feedback is, again, it's a two-person process. It goes back and forth and back and forth. So if there's something within the constructive feedback that you're not getting, if there's something within the feedback that you don't understand, if there's something that's not clear, always ask questions. If there's something that's not understood, if you're the person on the end receiving the feedback and there's something that you're confused, even though they may have those facts, give prime examples, ask the clarifying questions, and ask why. Because also that could really cause serious damage when it comes to collaboration. People just take the feedback, receive it, and don't say anything, even though they may have lingering questions. And it can prolong the actual process of getting the task done. So if you have questions, if there's things that you are confused about, it can be anything. And if you're confused about, always ask questions. Ask questions as the person giving and providing the feedback. Also, if you're the person that's receiving the feedback, if there's questions, ask. Find out ways that you can continue to improve. Show, if it's something of a different perspective, give the person that's giving the feedback an understanding of why. A lot of the times we get afraid of asking questions because we think that a person may get upset or they may get annoyed by us asking questions. I'm going to tell you guys, first and foremost, I ask questions all the time. I am the type of person, if I do not know, I will ask. I am not one to try to guess. I am not one to turn around and just make up stories or make up things. If I have a question, I am going to ask. That is the only way that you will ever learn, and that is the only way you will be able to get it right if you make a mistake. in entrepreneurship, there's going to be plethora of mistakes. There's going to be plethora of issues. There's going to be a whole lot of losses. But it's so important that as you continue to enhance and build your business, it's important to make sure that you're not making the same mistakes as before. You have to be able to learn. If you continue to repeat the same cycle, you're going to get the same exact results, and you're going to continue to see the same exact losses that you've had, because you may not be asking the right questions and you may not be addressing the correct things. So always make sure that you're asking questions. Sorry, guys, getting a little bit of my water. I have to keep my voice clear. But questions are a part of life. It's a part of business. It's a part of making sure collaboration goes right. If you're not asking questions, it kind of gives you the perception that you're not engaged. And so I don't say that because there's different scenarios where that could, because a person doesn't have to ask questions because they probably know they're very well expertise and well versed in their part of the process. So there are some people that are like that. But even those that are well versed in their expertise, they still ask questions because you never know if there's something that's going on that you may need to have additional information for. So it's extremely crucial and extremely important that you ask questions. Constructive feedback can be a very positive thing as long as you go into it with a positive intent. Now, if you're going in it with negative intent to degrade the person, make them feel bad, make them feel like that their part of the project is not important, then you're going in it wrong. You're going to cause problems with that particular task. And essentially down the road, either people are going to become unengaged or they may just quit the project overall. So let's not think about collaboration, constructive feedback as a negative thing or a way to knock someone. Let's look at it as a conversation of understanding, or at least getting additional understanding to something that may have not been understood before. When you're giving feedback and when you're giving that collaborative feedback on a project you've started, be confident. There's no reason, unless you just made stuff up, which I'm hoping none of my listeners do, obviously, but being confident, because if you've done your research, if you've identified what the goals are, if you have everything set in place and that you understand the things that are going on and why things aren't being done, there's no reason for you to be uncomfortable. There's no reason for you to have anxiety. There's no reason for you to be, what's the word? I guess anxiety or being uncomfortable. There's no reason for you to be nervous. There we go. There's no reason for you to be nervous about giving feedback when it's necessary. And a lot of the times, like I said, people think about it as a negative thing, or it's like, oh, that's just not a realm that I want to touch. When in actuality, if you're not giving the feedback, you're also inhibiting someone from growing and learning from their mistake. And vice versa. If someone's giving you feedback and you're not receptive, you're potentially missing out on an opportunity to grow. So it is our responsibility from time to time in regular life, in our personal and in our professional careers. It is our responsibility, ladies and gentlemen, to make sure that we are providing feedback when necessary, especially when we are in collaborative type of atmospheres. It's the only way that things will get better. It's the only way that things will become better, more efficient. It will become more effective and it'll become right. And so you can avoid a lot of mistakes and issues on the way if you're just making sure during those necessary times that you're giving constructive collaboration feedback, but you're also giving it at the right time and in the right setting and with the right audience. So I'm definitely excited to share this content, and I hope that you guys learned something and got some nuggets from this actual conversation of season 2, episode 3, collaboration feedback and understanding how to give constructive feedback within a collaborative setting. I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in and listening to season 2, episode 3. Again, you can follow the co-working culture on social media, Facebook, the co-working culture, on Twitter and Instagram at co-working culture. That's COWORKN culture. You guys can also find out for more information about me, my whereabouts, and all the different events that I have coming up on my website, www.IamOllieJoseph.com. You can also follow me on Instagram at I am Ollie Joseph, and on Facebook, you can follow my fan page, Ollie Joseph, founder of Executives Go. That name will be changing, so just stay tuned. So in the meantime, you can also follow my personal page, Ali Joseph, and you will see me right there on social media. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'm super excited about season 2, episode 4. There's so much more that we have coming in store, including some special guests that'll be coming on this season that will be talking and more focused on their expertise of collaboration and being